Welcome. This is the Sunday Swings live show. I'm back after a week off last week for the Super Bowl. So we'll let everybody roll in. If you're just catching the show for the first time, my name is Chad Longworth, and I'm a baseball, softball trainer, player development, generally curious guy, training guy, who likes to write and develop training programs to help players hit the ball harder, throw the ball harder, and just overall be more dominant on the field. That's where I go. That's what I do. We don't tiptoe around. We don't fill the world full of fluff. We just shoot straight down the middle and tell the truth about what the world is, and we try to navigate it for what it is and do the best we can. And this is the Sunday Swings live show every week that I do to talk about the week that was on social media. Topics, this is your opportunity to ask questions. So if you have questions, be sure to put them in the comments. We try to get to them at the end. So we'll let everybody roll in. If you're just watching the show, I'd appreciate it if you give a retweet. If you're catching this for the first time, you can catch all the past episodes on my YouTube channel. They're being uploaded onto podcasts. So if you haven't subscribed to my podcast, just go to the podcast. It's on SoundCloud for Android users, and it's on the iTunes library. If you'll subscribe to the podcast, leave ratings on the podcast, listen to the podcast, help the podcast be popular and awesome and dominant as it should be. We're off. Here we go. First topic is in-season training. I know a lot of people are getting their season started off, and so I'm getting a lot of emails, especially in-house emails, on all the remote training clients. In-season training, here's the thing. Once weighted ball, once weighted bat, once overload, underload training becomes part of your mechanical system, you have to continue to do it in some capacity. It's like weightlifting. If you're going to spend, here's the thing that's bothering me about the players that we have in-house a bit is, if you're going to spend 6 months building this dominant system that's capable of higher output than you've ever been capable before, it's kind of silly not to continue to train, not to continue to lift weights. Weightlifting and strength and all this thing has about a 30-day life on it. If you stop doing it, your gains will last about 30 days, and then it'll slowly taper off. No matter what you've done for the last 6 months, if 30 days out, if you haven't lifted weights, if you haven't picked up a weighted bat, if you haven't picked up a weighted ball, and you haven't kept your mechanical patterns, then it's going to slowly start to taper off, and you're going to be back to square one. That will inevitably happen to our high school guys. That will filter back in June, is if they don't continue to train, which most of them won't, their numbers will be down. And then they'll be mad at their high school coach because their high school coach did it. No, dude, it was your fault. It's totally your fault if you don't continue to train. Strength training, in our strength training programs, we want to keep our weight percentages up. We want to keep them around 90%. If we can maintain 90% of our strength gain through the season, then I feel good about that. So lift heavy during the season too. Instead of doing 7 sets of 2 or 6 sets of 4 or 5 sets of 3, like whatever you're doing, if you're an online training client and you're following the training programs, we cut it back to 3 sets of 3. We kind of undulate off of 3 sets of 3, 3 sets of 2. And we're trying to maintain 90% of their bench, squat, deadlift max, which is the only numbers that really matter for most of you in the weight room. There's some of you that have really high bench, squat, deadlift max that need to refocus on bar speed and recovery. So if you're not one of those few people, then try to maintain your bench, squat, and deadlift max wherever it is now. Stay on that 90% gain, and you have to maintain your strength throughout the season. The same is true for weighted bats. If you follow me, then you know that I helped write the weighted bat programming with Coach Monty Lee at Clemson. We worked together. We wrote their Christmas break weighted bat programs. If they came back, they retested, their team average was up 3 miles an hour. I talked to him this week, and we talked about how they had retested a month later, but they hadn't stayed on their weighted bat programs, and their exit velocities were down off of their testing. That is just further proof that once overload underload training becomes part of your mechanical system, you have to maintain it. You have to maintain that movement profile that you set, that movement efficiency that you set using overload and underload implement training. I tweeted about that this week. Is the one of the more misunderstood concepts of overload, underload, weighted ball, weighted bat training is yes, it helps your swing fitness and it helps your throwing fitness, but just like the guys at Clemson, we're only talking about 3 to 6 ounces on a bat. 3 to 6 ounces. It's not that much that's going to help you go up 6 miles an hour. So it is that, but it is also the quality, how it improves your central nervous system and the quality of movement. I use the example of the pencil and the deadlift. How if you try to bend over and pick up a pencil off the ground, there's a million different movement solutions to execute that outcome. But if you put even 135 pounds on the bar, your movement solutions become more refined and less and limited to execute the output of getting the bar up off the ground. Weighted bat training is the same way. When you overload a bat in whatever capacity and whatever constraint it is, it starts to limit the ways that it starts to limit the ways that you can move it to achieve the outcome of getting the ball in the air. I mean, here's the thing: we have the answers to the test, and we have the answers that we need. Is hitting the ball in the air at 20 degrees at all exit velocities is better. If you want to get better, though, it's not about hitting the ball in. It is about hitting the ball in the air more consistently. But if you want to get better, you have to raise your exit velocity because you're going to be better at a wider range of launch angles. I've talked about that before 100 times. Exit velocity really is the separating point. Throwing velocity really is the separating point. And if you want to be really, really good, you have to continue to maintain that. While weighted bat training, weighted ball training is improving your throwing fitness, it is improving your swing fitness. It is more about how it is refining your movement profile to execute the outcome. We use a lot of different implements to do that. We use a lot of different fields. We use a lot of different, medicine ball, PVC drills. I posted in the last 2 weeks since I talked. I posted the beginner PVC series in the Velo Lab online. I posted a quick preview of it on Instagram and Twitter. Sets and reps for in-season lifting. We undulate off of 3 sets of 3 on our major lifts. At nine, we try to stay between 82.5% and 90% because we want to maintain at least 90% of our max out numbers throughout the season. So if you don't lift at 90%, you won't maintain that. So that's the life of your strength gains and your movement quality is about 30 days. After that, if you don't do anything to maintain it, 30 days, it starts to dwindle off. So 90%, 3 sets of 3, 3 sets of 2, at 90, between 82.5% and 90%, depending upon what we're trying to do, where we are in the season. And then we mix in some deloads right in the middle of it to not stay 90% the whole season. We deload for about 4 weeks. We get back on the heavy for about 4 weeks. We deload for about 4 weeks, which takes us through the end of the season and maintains our 90%. That's a 16-week. I posted a 16-week, 2 and 3 day training, in-season training guide in the Velo Lab online remote training portal. If you have that, it's in there. All you got to do, copy the spreadsheet, and then fill in your max outs, and it calculates everything for you. My second point is good is the enemy of great. I think a lot of the guys that we have that drop out of the in-season program they are content with good where they are. And I know that this is true of everywhere. I don't say this is just where I live, but this is true of everywhere because I travel all over the place. I do on-site demos and on-site training clinics with people in towns all over America. And so my small town is no different than anyone else's small town in that success is relative to your competition, and our competition here is not very good. So if you have some if you have some skill and ability, then it's not that hard to be good. It's really hard for our guys to continue to be motivated, even not knowing what's out there. Even if they know what's out there, they're content with, okay, I'm going to be good enough here. Why do I need to continue to invest, more than 3 days a week training? Why would I train 6 days a week? And then they get to college, if they get to college, and it's really a smack in the face of, I'm not that good. Because it's all relative to your competition, and it's relative to the people that are around you. And where I live, it's not that hard to be good if you've got some athletic ability. Results are not always indicative of how hard you work. Sometimes it just has to do with talent, and talent levels are all over the place. And so, you might be just more talented than people, and you don't have to work yet, but you will, or you'll quit. A lot of fixed-minded people are all over the place in baseball. Fixed-minded people believe if it doesn't come easy to me, then I must be bad at it. If I must be bad at it, then I'll do something else. They don't believe in growth or growth things, or they don't believe that talent ability can grow and progress. I mean, we went back and forth sometime during this hiatus and this time that I've been off, from 2 weeks that I've been off. We went back and forth with Kyle at Driveline. With a guy that said if you throw 83, you can't throw 90, and that's not true. I mean, that's not true. That is, if you throw 83 today and you want to put the work in, the necessary work in, you can throw 90. You will throw 90 eventually. You just have to put the work in, which, 3 day a week training will get you a bit. 4 day a week training will get you a bit farther. 6 day a week training will get you a bit farther. As the price goes up and the results, the people that get the results, think about the amount of people that throw 83. There's a lot. And so the price of admission at 83 is not quite what the price of admission at 93 is. And so as you climb the mountain gets steeper, and the price to pay gets harder. And a lot of people, and this just goes back to my point of good is the enemy of great. If I throw 86, I'm going to get most people out. So why do I want to continue? Why do I want to work harder? Like, this is so much harder. Why do I want to continue that? Because you should. Because you have to, if you're not pursuing greatness in something, then you're going to settle for average your entire life. And it is what it is. I've seen it in the past. I will continue to see it in the future. Players that become prisoner of good will be prisoner of good their whole life at whatever they do, whether they're an executive, whether they're whatever they're doing, they'll always be that way. Players that believe in the growth mind and the growth mentality and all continuing to challenge what they know and continuing to challenge their skill set, continuing to seek work and progress will be that way their whole life. And so I think one of the great gifts of baseball is it lends to growth-minded people, and growth-minded people tend to be more successful in the long-term life in general. You think about all the great people that we have today, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg. Those are not fixed-minded people. Those are people that believe they could change things, and then they worked hard and they did change things. They all could say, well, this is good enough. Why would I want to work any harder? And that's really the mentality that you have in baseball. Also, over the last little bit, I went on a rant probably Thursday about command first guy. Make no mistake about it. We don't train guys to just, I said that. It's not like we sit around and say, just hit the backstop and hope for the best. Like I get that you have to throw strikes just as well as I have to. And I don't talk pitching a lot. I try to stay in my lane. I leave pitching to the pitching gurus, but I know this, guys that throw. I said this tonight in our softball pitching group. We got a softball pitching group that we're working on some softball pitching stuff that we're hoping to release maybe before the summer. But our softball pitching group, that is our test group for our softball underload overload program, mechanical patterning and overload underload program. I said this, 90 right down the middle is really, really hard to hit. It's 90 right down the middle is a lot harder to hit for most people than 81 spotted on the inner half or the outer half. So why not train to throw 90 versus trying to throw 81 or 82 on the inner half or outer half? Because I think that's a lot harder than training to throw 90. There was only one Maddox. There's a lot of guys that throw 90 plus. So, command first guy is just, look, I know you got to throw strikes. I know that. But speed, velocity gets you in the door at all levels. It is the separating point, no matter what level you're at. If you are 10 years old and you're trying to make a travel ball team, if you're 12 years old and you're trying to make your middle school team, if you're 14 years old and you're trying to make a JV team, if you're 16 years old and you're trying to make a varsity team, if you're 18 years old and you're trying to play in college, if you're in college and you're trying to play after college, if you're in independent ball and you're trying to get signed, velocity is going to get you in the door. It's not the be-all, end-all, I know that, but it gets you in the door. Once you're in the door, then you can figure out the rest. But if you don't get in the door, none of the other stuff really matters. Like none of your breaking balls or change ups or spots in out are going to matter if you don't have the minimal competency to compete at the level that you're going to. That's fine. If you want to focus at 10 years old on just pumping strikes, because at 10 years old, it doesn't matter how hard you throw, because most hitters are not very good. If you just throw it in the strike zone, they get themselves out. But as you get older and hitters get better and they get less refined, just throwing it inside the strike zone at any speed is not going to work anymore. I mean, I said that if you throw 78 and you're going to try to get my hitters out, good luck. They're going to feast all over you. But if you throw 90 right down the middle, I mean, it's going to be a lot more challenging for them than if you're throwing 78 and trying to carve. I mean, they're going to eat you alive. Especially the ones that with power and pop, it's not going to be very challenging for them. If you throw 90 and now you can pitch off of 90, or 92, 93, 94, yeah. If you're play softball and you can pitch off of 70, all the other stuff that you have is way, way more effective. And I'm trying to pound that into softball people now. Is look, I know changeups are important. I know breaking balls are important. I know fast spots are important. But 70 right down the middle is way harder to hit than spotted up 55. I promise you that. And so we need to train to throw 70, and it's growth-minded versus fixed-minded of people don't believe you can do that. People don't believe you can do that. The guy that said if you throw 83 you're not going to throw 90, and he's right. In his world, he is right. If you do what he does, if you show up for his lesson once a week and you get your 30-minute lesson on your mechanics and you go home and you throw 83, you're never going to throw 90 that way. Never. It will never happen. And he's right. For him, he's right. But he's not right in the world. If you throw 83, you can throw 90. But it's going to take more than one 30-minute lesson a week. It's like if you want to be a dude or a dudette and you want to smoke balls, if you want to raise your potential output, then your one 30-minute, 40-minute, 45-minute, hour hitting lesson per week is not going to cut it. We make some strides with our players in weighted bat training, but make no mistake, our players that come more often are better at all levels because there's just more consistency. The three things that you have to make your training as good as it can be. You have to have consistency, you have to have urgency, and you have to have intent. If you have those three things, then you're going to be okay. And so, again, goes back to good is the enemy of great. If you think if you believe you're good enough, then you don't have the urgency or the intent to get any better. If you believe that there's no limit, there is no ceiling, I think people buy in. We've had this discussion. I talked to Eugene Bleeker about having false ceilings and players buying into. You know who's worse though? Parents are worse. Parents are worse with false ceilings and false. They put them on their kids more than anything. Like Johnny or Jane, they're not going to do that. They got to do it this way. Like, you don't know that. I've said that, and I continue to say that. Nobody knows how good you can be. Nobody has a crystal ball. And anybody that says otherwise is just covering up. It's command first guy is just covering up his inadequacy to develop velocity. That's all he's doing. And you know what happens? Parents and people that don't know, they hold this the John F. Kennedy. It's the false belief of of our forebears. We just foster our beliefs off of that, and for a long time we believe that. But now, when people like Driveline come around and just they upset the whole community and like, hey, you really can do this. People hold to their what they've always known or what they always know. And so which is an easy cop out. You're either born with it or you're not. Are some people born to throw? Are they not born to throw hard? Nobody's born to do anything. But are they more adaptable to throw hard? Yeah, sure. Is my central nervous system better than some other people's? Yeah, sure it is. I mean, I know that. My dad played Division I college basketball. My mom ran track in high school. I was just born with a more advanced central nervous system than some other people. I know that. That's why pro ball guy that does lessons and charges $100 an hour that says, just do it the way I did it. This is the way I did it. And it doesn't work for that player. That's because the guy doesn't understand. Like, dude, you had a central nervous system that was like a guided missile. Like that kid that grows up down the street doesn't have that. And that's always an interesting challenge for me, is how to get that kid or get that player, how to develop his central nervous system to something that's more advanced than he would have gotten naturally. Because naturally, with a guy who's got a central nervous system that just naturally goes to 83, if he doesn't challenge it on that level, he's not going to throw 90. He's just not. You're not going to get your one lesson a week or even long tossing. You're not going to get there. You've got to change your mechanical pattern. You've got to make it more efficient. It's like saying if you deadlift 150 pounds, you're not going to deadlift 300. Yeah, you can. You got to do the work. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the consistency. You have to have the urgency to do it. You have to have the intent to do the work at the highest level you can do it at, but you can do it. You're not going to go from 83 to 90 easily, but you can go there. And I think what happens to our guys a lot, and it just goes back to the original point of good as any of you're great. They go from 83 to 86, and when the price gets higher, they don't go to another level because they're good enough. They're better than everybody that's around here. And so why would I work harder? Because now I'm better than everybody at my high school, or I'm better than everybody in my district or my league. Why would I continue to train like this? Because this is boring. Consistency is the secret to success. You got to be disciplined enough to put in the boring, consistent work. And I think a lot of players get bored with the work, and so they're out. And again, there's so many things that separate players that don't have anything to do with their talent or what they're capable or whatever. One of them is just they're not committed to putting in the day in, day out boring work. If it's not new and exciting, then they're out. They lose that newness, that new car smell to the training, and they're out. And so it's just boring, everyday consistency, work. We chunk it into 12-week periods. Now we're into a 12 to 16-week in-season period that a lot of players will not do their overload-underload training. They will not continue their weight training. They will not continue their weighted ball, weighted bat training. And their outputs will go in the tank. After 30 days, they will be not back to where they were, but they'll just be whatever. And they'll come back, and they'll get their numbers remeasured, and they'll be like, oh, I went backwards during the year and it was my coach's fault. No, it wasn't your coach's fault. Your coach had nothing to do with your opportunity to build a weighted bat and slam some total control balls or plow care balls into a wall and do some weighted bat front toss. You did front toss every day. You could have built a weighted bat took it to your own practice and used a weighted bat in your practice every day, you could have mixed up your rounds. You were going to get plenty of swings. If you needed more swings, grab somebody after practice. It's all on how bad you want to do it, and quite frankly, it's just easier to make an excuse, and that's kind of what players default to in season. You know, it's a little harder in season. Your time constraints, because you're on the coach's time, are more difficult, but you have to do it. You have to do in-season programming, especially if you've used overloaded, underloaded implements to refine your mechanical pattern, because if you don't, then it's just like weight training. We accept this about weight training. If you bench press 300 pounds and then you don't touch a weight for 30 days, when you go back, you are not going to be able to move that 300 pounds. If you can hit a ball 95 miles an hour with doing weighted bat training, and you don't pick up a weighted bat for the next 35, 40, 60 days, you're not going to hit the ball 95 miles an hour again. You know, we talked a little bit with Monty this week about it, about doing some in-season training, stressing to his guys the importance of doing their weighted bat training in their, you know, in their own time, in their pre-practice routines, getting some overload, underload training into their pre-practice routines so that they can maintain their high level of output throughout the year. Just like weight training, you got to do it. Does anybody have any questions? I'd like some questions about whatever in-season training, command first guy, weighted balls, weighted bats, weightlifting, hit tracks, Diamond Kinetics app, really good. I'm excited about the Diamond Kinetics update on the app. Hopefully it's going to be by the end of the month. It's going to be something that's going to be really, really good, because you're going to be able to measure your output and use your weighted bat training. Yeah. Thank you. Are there any questions, concerns, or regards? No questions? All right, well, I'm out. I'm going to go, got to go work on some program updates. I got to get some in-season program updates. What about younger players? How much is too much? You know, that's a good question. I think you got to know the room. I mean, I think 7 days a week is way too much, but you know, 3, 4 to 5, you can get away with 3 to 4 to 5. I would do maybe 2 days of intense training. I think you got to plan it out and get your plan it out and get your work in, throwing and hitting. Can you do driveline arm training in season? I would not start driveline in season if I were you. I would wait till the off season to do the intense velocity development. Yeah, I take that back. You can do some of the plyo care balls in season. Yeah, if you have never done driveline and you want to start doing some plyo care drills in season to build a better arm path and build a more efficient delivery, then yeah, you could do that. As far as velocity builds go, you can't do velocity builds in season. There's too much. You have too much volume already. All plyo care balls and I would definitely do the driveline warm up prehab rehab programs, like the before and after. I would definitely do that. I think that's one of the more underrated things about driveline is their prehab and their rehab program. And so I would definitely do that. If you I would wait to the off season to do your velocity builds though. And so yeah. Somebody asked about PVCs. For young kids, we use 4-foot PVCs, loaded 4-foot PVCs, and for older guys, we use 5-foot PVCs with in-load in them. We do a few different things with PVCs. If you've seen the video, if you're in the online training, then you know the PVC drills, and you should do them. Along with medicine balls, along with overload bats, just to build a more dynamically explosive system to be able to execute your output faster, in real time, faster. Are there any other questions? Questions? I think that was Big Steve that commented from Richmond, Virginia. I'm glad you're watching, Big Steve. All right. So I have open DMs. So if you want to shoot me questions this week, you can. Again, this is the Sunday Swings live show. My name is Chad Longworth. If you, if you don't believe it, then you just haven't paid attention to the results. That's fine, and you don't have to. And I don't. That's I guess one of the things that I want to say is you don't have to believe me, but and I tell guys that our numbers are our numbers. They go up. We raise the potential output of players, and then we try to build their systems more dynamically. And then they got to go and they got to hit on the field. They got to put their spikes in the dirt and go hit. So, with that being said, go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Watch all the past episodes. You can just search my name on YouTube, Chad Longworth. And so, go subscribe to the podcast. Go subscribe on SoundCloud. Again, just go look for my name, Chad Longworth, and then you will find it. Hit the subscribe button. Again, I appreciate you watching this. And if you have questions, you can shoot them to me on DM. I will see you next week, every Sunday at 9 o'clock. Thanks for watching or listening on the podcast later.